couldn't find a car park, and you actually have to stay there for 1 hour just to exit the car park. It's traumatic. Everyone, if you haven't been through that, go to Mid Valley tonight, have a dinner, try to leave at 10 p.m. Okay. So when we're actually there, we find out that car park is actually something that all the drivers need, right? As long as you have a car, you need to park your car, and you need to look for a car park. And not to mention, sometimes you are short of cash, and you have to look for a way to pay your car park, right? So we think of, hey, if we can actually use AI to solve this problem, could it actually come up with something that fix this problem? So we think of license plate recognition, using camera that actually capture the license plate, and people don't actually have to get any ticket, and they can actually pay with cashless method. So while we actually look into this problem, what we find out to become a larger problem is car park operators are still investing into machines. And when we find out of the figure of all these machines, it actually shocked us. So in order for somewhere like Sunway or Mid Valley to invest into all these machines, it could actually goes to million ringgits. So actually there's a news when Sunway invested into the machines for their car park, actually it comes almost 4 million ringgit. That's a lot, that's a massive amount, right? So we think of what is the most accessible way and lowest entry barrier that not only Sunway Pyramid can purchase, but also some small offices, some small shops, if they wanted to have a car park solution, who can they go to? Because, I mean, we are already in 2023, so if a car park still using manpower to receive car park, sometimes it feels kind of suspicious also, right? Like when you want to pay, then there's no one for you to pay, and then it's not safe also. So we come up with this idea that using cameras, using CCTV to capture license plate, and you automatically open the barrier so that people can go into this car park and they can pay later with touch and go or e-wallets. So we start working on this idea. So how do I meet James? So actually, I think maybe this is something that is pre-planned. I don't even know why this happened, right? So James and I joined the same company in the first day, in the same day actually, in August 2019. So we joined this same company on the same day. Happened that we joined the same team, and we actually stay nearby with each other. So we use the same train to work every day. So this is how we actually know each other. So we actually, when we go to work, we'll talk about ideas, talk about what we're going to eat later, talk about what are you doing on weekends. So we actually have a lot of interaction with each other. So when it comes to startup, it's my without a second doubt, I actually started with him. So when it comes to at the beginning, when we're doing this startup, one of the biggest challenges that we have faced is that we have no idea what shall we do, because especially we coming from a technology background, when you have to write proposal, you have to do business plan, that is a massive challenge. However, that I mean, yeah, that is challenging, but we did not just stop right there. So we quickly go and find customers, go and find clients, and we'll talk about it. And most of the time, we're being rejected. Yeah, I think this is journey, right? Once you start something, you always get rejected by many times, and then you get used to it, and then you find some way. But then keep saying no to is actually a very bad experience. Especially you don't want to keep saying no by someone, right? Like someone keeps saying no to you, like no. Every time you ask something, no. So that is actually very hard for us. And especially at one point, we have no idea what to do anymore. And then I'd be like, okay, so what can we do? If this is startup, and this is the way, then I think this is not where shall we just give up and just stop doing it and go back and find a job. I think we just go and find a mentor. So actually we go and search for mentors on LinkedIn, and actually we found BizBot. So BizBot, actually when they started, there's no teams actually there because it's still renovating. It's actually a space in Taylor's University that actually nurtured young entrepreneurs who are actually studying. Although I'm already graduated from school, however, I still come back to reach out for some kind of connections. Just hope that someone can actually help us. So we actually reached out to this spot at that time. It was called a setup. So we reached out to this space and wonder if we can actually get some help. And surprisingly, the mentor of that time actually offered us help, and he said, yeah, why not you just, do you guys have any office? If you don't, just come to this office and you can actually use this space and use the environment. If let's say something that can actually help you, yeah, just use it. So one of the largest challenges that we have is that money, right? You run a startup, you need money, you need stable financial to back you up in order to run a startup. So what shall we do? We have to talk to investors. So to talk to investors, we need to pitch deck. So in order to build a pitch deck, there's a lot of things that you don't get it when you study in uni. It's not just a simple presentation slide just telling like, hey, this is my business, investors. So there's a lot of things that statistically you need to prepare, like market size. There's a lot of things that we have to put into these slides and how it show appealing that this is a big problem. So at first, we reached out to this spot for help, specifically in this area, because we have never reached out to any investors. We have never actually talked to any clients, like real clients. So in this spot, we actually spend some time and talk to this spot, and then we actually do learn something. We actually reach out to investors, have a very successful pitch, even though we did not get an investment at the end. However, we do feel proud that we actually have this opportunity to talk to investors. So not only that, we also did our first pilot testing at the car park, the staff car park here. Yeah, so in this picture you can see that me and my co-founder just stand next to the camera, and that's the camera that actually captured license plate. And yeah, so this is the space. So what makes me so fearless in my 24 years old and decide to work on startup is because I do think that there's nothing to lose even though we fail. I do think that the worst thing that could happen is I will just go and find a new job if I really didn't make it. If the startup failed, then I will just go and get a new job and get a restart. That's the worst thing that could happen. How bad can it be, right? Well, when some people actually ask you to start a startup, like, hey, we have a great idea, why don't we just do this? You know, in Malaysia, nobody does that. In Singapore, it's a huge thing. In Indonesia, it's a huge thing. Maybe one day you'll become a new Grab, right? You'll become a new billion-dollar Malaysia company, like LANGSUNG. So yeah, that's usually how a successful story is told. However, what I did get in these 4 years building startup, I did not have a Grab yet. However, what I have get so far is depression, anxiety disorder, losing my appetite, sleeping problem, hair fall, right? However, this didn't stop me from doing my startup. So in this first picture that you can see is actually Mr. Rahman, the managing director of Microsoft in Malaysia. So working in startup is like you get to pursue your dream. There's no boundaries, there's no box between you and the world. You do what you want, but it's not telling you that. Yeah, you just do what you want, but because you know what you want to do. You know your why, you know your purpose. So having this large purpose that using AI to change the world, together with my co-founder James, the thing that we actually wanted to achieve is something that larger than us, something that we put in front of ourselves. We do not just expect that things, we just don't want to work for somebody and so that we have excuse to do whatever we want and have the freedom. So we do think this is a very weak purpose and a very weak reason to start a startup. However, when we look at this, we tell ourselves, we look at the big picture, we know that we can achieve something, we believe in ourselves, and we have faith. So, of course, saying that having this belief, having this faith, sounds like we are very optimistic. However, in this whole process, there's a lot of self-doubt, especially when people around you doesn't actually understand what you're doing, right? Especially when Saturday night, you're supposed to have a date with your girlfriend, but turns out now you have to stay at home and work on your business plan. You'd be like, babe, what are you doing? We are supposed to have a date night tonight. We are supposed to watch something on Netflix. No, I'm going to build my business plan so I can get investment. So that's how people actually don't understand you. And when it comes to family, when I see you, when others' kids are going to work in, for example, Deloitte, right? In Deloitte, a company that, a corporate company that, I think a lot of accounting students actually wanted to pursue to that company, especially when they have a very high standard in accepting their new candidates, right? So that's a benchmark. So when people around you, everyone is going to KPMG, boom, Dell, boom, Intel, Google, but you are staying at home working on this project that doesn't going to see light, nobody knows. You know what's worse than Chinese New Year when people are asking, have you going to get a girlfriend yet? Why are you not married? Is that, are you employed now? Are you employed? Are you having salary now? Why are you still wearing the same clothes that last year you wear? I think that's even worse than are you getting married or not. So this is what I get. That's what I have get for 4 years. Yeah, until even today. My mom still thinks I'm unemployed. Because I work, because we all working from home and we have flexible working hours, so sometimes I do wake up later than usual, and my mom thinks that I'm unemployed, but actually, matter of fact, it's not. Okay, so the second picture that you can see is actually a project that we have done in Utama. So it's actually a huge project. So a startup company able to get into one of the conglomerates in Malaysia. When it comes to mall, not only in Malaysia, in Asia, Utama is one of the largest mall in Asia. I mean, just in case you don't know, Utama is one of the largest mall in Asia. When they give us a figure of parking, entrance and exit combined, there's more than 100 lanes. So yeah, when you feel like it's a maze, it's okay, because they give us a figure. It is hard to find the shops that you want to go in Utama. It's tough. So not only finding shops that you want to go or restaurants you want to go in Utama is tough. Their management is tough too, because they are conglomerates in Malaysia. So as a startup company, when there are actually other pilot projects happening there, so just to list you some of the profile there. Okay, so HIK Vision, probably having 50 market share in the world, entire world. That's what you're going to compete against. So Kippo, one of the public listed company in Malaysia, that's someone that you compete against. So there's another Chinese company. So you heard it's a Chinese company. So they come from China. They're huge. They have factories. They can build 20,000 cameras in a day. So that's how huge they can be. So that's what we're actually going against. So the first time actually when we go to Utama, we actually have a very short deadline because other companies have been there for 1 year, so they suddenly just going to roll out into the second phase of the pilot testing. And whereby we only have a week to get into that phase. They'd be like, it's either you get in or you get out. Okay? It's either you can join this phase of testing or you're actually out of this phase. So for us, we just feel like, okay, this is opportunity you don't get any day, why not you just give ourselves a try. So prior to this experience, we do have experience in installing our solution in residential buildings. However, Utama is a different game. You know, like residential buildings, there's only like 4 lanes maximum. This is like 100 lanes we're talking about. So the first time, we do actually cause some congestion in Utama. So if it happened that day you go to Utama, I apologize here. So we actually do create some congestion in Utama because of the failure of our system. So we're not saying that building a startup is going to give you the unicorn and rainbows every day. They're telling you that everything is going to be fine and you're going to pursue your dreams come true, yay, Disney. No, it's not going to happen like that. So in Utama, indeed we suffered for almost a month. That I almost think Utama is my home that time, because at one point I actually bring my stool there so that we can sit. So even the security guard, they all know us because we actually work until midnight every day. So that's how much we love Utama that time. I basically know, I close my eyes and I know where's Nando's. Like, come in Nando's, I'll bring you there, close my eyes, right? But actually working that time actually is very mentally challenged because we know that they are large, the scale of the mall is huge. They cannot afford to have congestion like this every day. So that one day, I actually heard this through the walkie-talkie from the security guard. When we actually still installing our solution, this is what the manager told the security guard. He said, just ask them to go back. These people don't know what they are doing, just wasting our time. We are one utama. So basically saying that Arrivo is just someone that, this is not a playground. If you want to play with kids, go to your playground. This is one utama. So if you want to play, go back to playground. So this is what happened when actually installing something with one utama. However, we actually have already received a notice and asked us to actually remove everything. So basically that sounds like a failure already. However, at that phase, me and James and our team be like, hey, since the things is already on the ground, the wire is on the ground, I'll just try to buy us one more weekend. If that doesn't work, okay, let's just go home. I mean, I think we already tried very hard. It's mentally suffer. We've been spending 12 hours a day just to get it done. And not only that, every time when we thought it's going to work, then it's not. We couldn't find the problem. We don't know what went wrong because the infrastructure of a mall is very different from a residential building. So at the end, we managed to make it work, and through that testing, from small residential buildings to the largest mall in Malaysia, that's like how much that we grow. That's the growth that we see through a month. That now, not only that we know what's not good in our system, we fix it. We're constantly growing as a team, and yeah, I think that's the biggest take from this experience. And then the next picture, actually, this is one of the awards night. Even though me and James did not win any award, we're just there to actually support our advisor. So coming to this point, it's actually already the third year of Arrivo. And then I still remember the time when we started Arrivo, when we actually get an office, we're so excited. In fact, we're overly excited. We get a co-working space. It's a very stupid decision. Don't get a co-working space when you started. The rent is actually very expensive. You can start at home. We went to WeWork, matter of fact. Yeah, you rented WeWork, you know how fancy it is. You got free flow drinks, matter of fact, alcohol. When you finish work, free flow. And then you have breakfast. So it sounds like a very fancy working space for you. However, that actually turns into a nightmare for us because during MCO, we never figure out how long it can be, MCO can last. And actually lasts more than a year. Actually it lasts like 16 months, 18 months, we don't know. There's so many uncertainties we put ourselves into, right? Then at that moment, the noises come into my head, like, Julius, you are not good enough to do this. It's time to stop doing this. Julius, who are you to think that you are so good that you can build this startup? Who are you to think that you deserve to have a billion-dollar company just because of who you are? You know, during MCO, a lot of people suffer. Especially a lot of people feeling the angst in them. Like they don't know what to do. Everyone having the anxiety inside them, telling them that things is not going to the way usually they want to. However, there's a few months we really run out of cash in our bank account. We couldn't give salary to our staff. It suffered because one of the purpose that we have is to actually give the best to our staff. Like we want to be the people's people, right? We cannot give salary. Ultimately, we are already very suffer as a founder that we don't have money to live. But looking at our staff without money for next month for their rent, it makes me feel even worse. So we do offer them to leave the company. Like, hey, Louis, JK, if we cannot issue you salary next month, why not just join our company? I know other founders in another company. I can just refer you there. They give you better salary. You can have a stable life. You can pay your rent next month. why not just join them? So this is what they said, which touched me a lot and gave me power, motivation to continue going in Arrivo. They say, hey Julius, James, stop worrying about this. It's not important now. The reason why we joined this is not because of money. We joined because of this mission. We joined because of this purpose. We joined because of you, the founder. We know that we are going through this together, and now we believe that you can get the deal done so that we can get our salary next month. We believe in you. We have faith in this company. So, after we heard this, man, what have I done in the past life to deserve this? I mean, God been treating me well to have this team. I'm blessed. So I work even harder to get all these things done. Because when other people willing to fight your fight, what else can you ask for? So, I mean, today when you come to Taylor's, you can probably see my poster and billboards around Klang Valley, but it's not because of my own success, but my team's success. It comes to a team. When it wins, we win as a team. So yeah, I mean, just now I mentioned that when I come to this hall, it's because I want my attendance. Yeah, not only that, when it comes to Club and Society Day, I was in Summit Pyramid. When it comes to exams, usually I don't do well. So probably I've already done all the things in Taylor's, like, you know, you're not doing so good academically, but you're on the school poster with the billboard by Taylor's. Yeah, but I'm not. But the thing is, I want to say, if you have a bigger purpose, even when you are students, even when you academically not doing so well, but you understand that you have this purpose, that bigger than yourself, that you can actually pursue someone to join the fight. Go for it, even you are just, I don't know, 17 years old. If you don't know what to do, look for a mentor. If you need a mentor, that if you want a mentor, you can even reach out to me. I can actually tell you, I mean, some of my opinions, some of my thoughts. I don't know if they help you, but always start from somewhere. Know your why. Start from there. So if you watch Game of Thrones, there's always this thing that I remember from Arya Stark. She said, "Not today." It's because she's going to die, and you say, "Not today." That's what I've been telling myself. Not today. If I'm going to win, I'm not going to die now. I have a team behind me. They're going to fight my fight. So not today. Last but not least, thanks a lot of people, especially my family, my sister, Kuisin, my friends, and also one person who did not give up on myself, especially all these struggles happened. When I look at this person, I always think that I owe this person a thanks. I promise him I will go to work harder. And that's me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Julius. What a wonderful and insightful sharing. As a fellow business owner and entrepreneur myself, I can echo to that. It is not hard, but it is quite a journey. Thank you so much, Julius, for taking the time to be with us today. We have some time for the Q&A between the audience and Julius today. Can I see a show of hands of how many questions do we have from the floor? All right, so I have some questions for Julius then. You know, in your sharing, you talk about there are some. Sorry, is there any question? Okay, so one of the things that you talked about in your sharing earlier is, you know, all of the challenges, and this contribute to not just like mental health, but also it manifested in your physical health. And a lot of the people watching the session here, you know, are students. So acknowledging that you're not a mental health expert, I'm just wondering, how did you cope with the stress, and is there any tips and tricks that you can share with the students on how they themselves, you know, can cope with, you know, the day-to-day stress of their lives?
Okay, first of all, thanks for everyone who coming here, who also watch online. So when it comes to mental health, I do have the struggle for some time, especially someone who have history of anxiety disorder when I was in high school. So when I actually have anxiety disorder, I don't know it was that serious. I thought, oh, I just have faster heartbeats. That makes me feel very bad at that time. When I got panic attack, I just faint. However, later only I know that, okay, this is something that I should be aware that it's not good. Yeah. So it was happened in high school that time, but then during the control or the how I actually feel like, okay, I should actually start to take action about my mental health, is that I actually listen to some podcasts that talking about meditation. So meditation is the way that helps me feel better when I actually feel mentally challenged, like when it comes to mental health. So meditation do give me peace and the calmness out of it. So sometimes I do listen to some chill music and do the meditation. And in fact, me and James, we always talk about meditation, and we actually paid to go and meditation, and using the Tibetan bowl, and when they just knock at it and they make the sound, that actually gives you the waves, and it actually sends you to alpha state. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert of this, but then it do makes you feel calmer when the distraction and things wouldn't go into you so easily. So I think this kind of practice do actually makes us stronger in our mental state. So I do actually encourage people to explore about meditation, and especially these days I went to work out a lot, and that actually helped to boost up your dopamine, to actually give you the happiness to your brain, the chemical. So it does sound like, you know, like chemical, but then yeah, your brain does release chemical to make yourself happy, and that's dopamine. So I do believe that workout actually release that.
Thank you, Julius, for that. I guess it's very important, especially in this day and age where we all believe in hustle culture and we hustle as much as possible. And this is not just a reminder for the audience, but also a reminder for myself that, you know, once in a while you have to take your time, take a break, meditate, you know, just come to the center and, you know, reevaluate the things that you're doing in life. Okay, that sounds a bit like too deep, but we have a question from the floor. Please state your name and what your question is.
Hi Julius, my name is Shen, and thank you for sharing your very inspiring story. I have one question for you. What tips do you have for businesses that are looking for investment, for investors? Like any tips that you could share with us?
Okay, sure. When it comes to investment, there's definitely something that our team been exploring for some time. So definitely, when it comes to looking for investment, do address how serious of a problem that you are actually solving. That's the first thing. Because if the problem is actually not big enough, then actually anyone can do it, or it won't actually reach to the scale that worth to be solved. Just like how AI is being the buzz, but not for no reason, but because AI, like ChatGPT, they can actually solve a lot of problems. So that's the first thing. Address how serious of a problem that it can be solved. Secondly, mention about the market size, like how big is the problem. You can address how many markets, like is it just Malaysia or Southeast Asia, or maybe even Asia and North America. That depends, right? And then the next thing is tell the investor what is the exit plan. What are you going to bring them as a benefit? Okay, so exit plan is as important as why they should invest. So in what state they can actually exit from a company. So some investors, they are not going to invest too long with this company, and it's actually important to address that. So what's the exit plan? For example, you're saying that, okay, I'm going to launch a farm that using blockchain technology, for example, like NFT projects. So my NFT project is going to be sold to this company that's going to buy us 2 years later. So it will be bought, estimated in this value, X value. So I think this is the exit plan. So it will give you 20x of return. Would you be interested to invest in my company? So that's exit plan. So I do think these few factors will come in, especially when it comes to team. That's even more important. Because sometimes when a few experts joining a team and form a team doesn't mean that this is the best dynamic to build a startup, especially when, because experts can be quite easy to find, honestly. However, how's the dynamic between founders and the team? How the founders can actually lead this lead this team of people to success. It's just like how Messi won his World Cup, right? A few years ago, when Messi got into final, he never won the World Cup. But however, what we can see from Messi winning the World Cup this time is that everyone is behind him. When he walks in a tunnel, everyone is behind him. When he gets fouled by some people, his team fight for him. So that's how important that shows the leadership play in the company. So that's another reason. So I think these 4 reasons is sufficient enough to convince an investor.
Thank you, Julius. Great tips there. We have 2 more questions from the floor. Please state your name and what your question is.
Hi, my name is Wala. My question would be, I think this would be relevant to most of Malaysians because not everyone comes from a rich background. So how relevant do you think being wealthy is in order for people to create startups?
Okay, so matter of fact, I think it's not important at all. Actually, I do heard of some people who actually didn't come up with a huge capital to build their own startup. It matters what kind of startup that you're building. However, I do think that we start from lean instead of thinking we are building a Tesla, right? We start from a skateboard. So that's how we can actually start with. And especially a lot of people think that okay, we need to start higher at the beginning. That can actually be quite. I think it's not the point of hiring how many talents that you can, because matter of fact, when you go to LinkedIn, there's a lot of good people, very skillful people on LinkedIn that you can reach out to, and maybe you can ask them whether they are on board with your project. That's why purpose matters, because once the purpose is strong enough, actually you don't have to financially pay someone to join this company. Maybe someone who has just equally as passionate as you in some subjects in this mission, they will actually offer themselves to join this company. Maybe not as a full-time, maybe as a part-time. However, when everyone is students, maybe financially cannot compare to people who are very wealthy, who actually has done a few startups, exit from a few startups, they have a few 100 million in their bank account, so they can hire very fast and build a team and expand to Hong Kong, Thailand, Taiwan. I think not many people can do that. However, always focus on that purpose, because sometimes it's not about money. That's the beauty about startup. It's about the mission and it's about the purpose. So once the purpose is strong enough, I think automatically when people heard it, they feel interested. They don't mind to join you, even just like a weekend project. You can start there and then keep validating whether what you are doing serves the right market. So if you find an entry point, then go stronger to it. Get some metrics, get some numbers, and then put into maybe even a slide and show it to people who are wealthy. Then let the wealthy invest into you. Yeah.
All right, thank you. 1 more question from the audience. Please state your name and what your question is.
Hello, my name is Safia. So my question is, I'm pretty sure that failure and rejection is something that everyone has to go through in their life, and especially in businesses, it's quite common that you do experience failure and rejection. So what are some tips, or how can you handle rejection? Especially me as a people pleaser, I don't like being rejected or having any negative thoughts go in my mind. So what are your tips on handling that? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, being rejected is pain, matter of fact. And as an ENFP, yeah, I don't like to be rejected also. However, the world is cruel, especially when it comes to business, it's cutthroat. Investors, business clients, business partners, you can say no to you. Maybe like, that's why actually I read a book, right? In order for people to say no, actually it's also tough for people to say no to others. Not only the people who listen to the no's, but for people to say the no's is tough as well. Because successful people, they actually, I don't think they actually read their emails also, or replying to, at least they're not replying to the emails. But 95 of the emails they're not replying to, because they have only that little of time to actually make the decision and actually be very invested into that matters. So they only, maybe like 100 emails, maybe they read 50% of it, then they only reply 5 of it. So maybe my point of view actually switched from, yeah, why they keep saying to no to, why they saying no to me, yeah, when I actually started. Actually, I do feel very upset or maybe even too disappointed when, like, I've really put so much effort there, why I'm still getting so much no. Not only in startups and even in life, the most no's actually I receive are actually from my parents. So they think, like I say, they feel like I'm still unemployed until now, so that's a no. But I think ultimately, looking at no's, actually, we can actually look at it even more casually, not because they actually rejected us, but there are more things that we cannot control that we can control. So I think what we should be focused on is the things that we can control instead of the things that we can't control. Because there are so many things out there we really cannot control. Like, yeah, I understand being a people pleaser. I think at some point I'm also a people pleaser. Maybe until now there's still some people pleaser inside me that I hope that please say yes to me. So you know, like I really don't want you to say no to me. However, when it comes really, if the person says no to me, I think, yeah, maybe that's not something I can control. So what I can control here? Yeah, so I focus on that. So that actually distracts me from the fact that I was rejected, and that's something that I can do better in what I can control. Yeah.
Thank you for Julius. Indeed, the path to failure or the path to your goals are paved with multiple failures. That is all the time we have for Q&A today, but don't leave yet. Julius, before we end the session, any final parting words from you to everyone here today?
Sure. Working on a startup, or no matter anything like singing, dancing, or anything that you like to do, remember, always be obsessed about it. Because life is so short, and you don't know what happens tomorrow. Just be obsessed in everything that you do. You know, give 110% to the thing you do. Be obsessed. Because when you're not being obsessed about that thing, I mean, how can you actually explain that you actually love it? So I think the obsession to something that you can actually sacrifice everything and put it behind you, that's something that worth for you to pursue. Because when something that you can just put yourself in the backseat and prioritizing that thing, and you know that, you know, in our life there's a lot of things that we can, there's a lot of elements in our life. However, if you really can be obsessed about what you love and give everything that you can put into there and invest it into it, I'm sure that no matter what it is, at the end of the day, even if you fail, yeah, you will have a satisfying answer to yourself. So that's why I think be obsessed.
All right, thank you, Julius. Before we let you go, for those of you here, please check out Arrivo, Julius, any website, social media that people should go to check out what the great work that you do.
Okay, so our company website is www.arrivo.app. So that's our company website. So you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Julius Ho. So okay, I'll looking forward to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julius, for such a wonderful session. Please give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Julius. Sorry, we will take a quick photo op for that. For those of you who are still here, don't go anywhere as usual.